Hey, so I'm here with Gavin Roy today. Gavin, you are well, let's just say it's been about 15 years since we've talked. This is like the first time in probably 15 years. We
Yeah,
went
I
to
think
school
so. That's
together.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy to believe how long it's been. But I wanted to have you on because you are a YouTube celebrity, but you're also a language expert, which is the real reason. Like, I think that's fascinating. And I think right now is such a great time for people to learn a language.
It is, yeah. And I wouldn't call myself a language expert per se, because expert
Okay.
implies some sort of like you went to school and became this big like doctorate professor in the language.
Uh-huh.
Like it was just 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I guess, that I kind of realized like maybe I'd want to study a foreign language someday. And I'm 31 now, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like this is an always passion I've had, but
I
yeah.
was gonna say, you do Portuguese. You make videos to teach people Portuguese.
That's right. Yeah, I started teaching myself Portuguese as a hobby while I was going to
Okay.
grad school for meteorology back in 2013 because I wanted to go to the World Cup in Brazil in 2014.
Oh,
And I
wow.
heard that a lot of people in Brazil don't speak English, so I wanted to be able to communicate in the native language there. And as I started teaching myself, I just fell in love with the language. And after I came back from the World Cup, I continued.
Continued on. When did you start making videos?
It was the year after the World Cup. So the World Cup was 2014. So in 2015, I created my YouTube channel, but never with the intention of becoming a big YouTuber. It was like a place for me to store my attempts at speaking Portuguese.
Oh, how funny.
And I made a couple videos too about the differences between Spanish and Portuguese because I'd taken Spanish in high school. Did you take Spanish in high school too, Kelly?
I did, yes. And I was going to bring that up. I was like, where did Portuguese even come from? Because that is not what we studied that wasn't even available at our high school.
Yeah. Hold on a second. My wife's calling me. I have to tell her.
No problem.
Hey, Laura. I'm on a live call. I'm gonna call you back, okay?
Hi.
All right. Yeah, she's calling me from her lunch break. Anyway, yeah, I forgot to text her about that. But what were we talking about?
Yeah, I was just saying there's no Portuguese. That was not an option at our high school.
No, Portuguese was not an option. Spanish
No.
and Portuguese are like 40% similar though. And so some of the videos I was making was like trying to compare what I knew from Spanish with like what I was trying to learn in Portuguese now.
Right.
So those are some of my original videos on the YouTube channel I created. But I started receiving so many comments from Brazilians like on my channel, like you should make English tips for Brazilians, that I started to, in Portuguese, talk about grammar features of the English language. I would like stay up late, study about our verbs and our grammar features like on my computer here, and then make a video about it, trying to speak and describe things in Portuguese. And it was these videos that kind of went viral and turned my channel into like this huge thing. Yeah, now I have almost 1.7 million subscribers. Almost all of them are Brazilians.
That's so crazy. Yeah, and I kind of mentioned you earlier, but like before we started streaming, but like I was trying to look up what you primarily, all your videos, your Instagram, like it's all in Portuguese. Everything that you pretty much do is in Portuguese.
It is nowadays. I mean, I defended my doctorate in 2016. I was getting my PhD in meteorology, and the next day I became a YouTuber essentially. And because I work in Brazil now, I've been working from home since 2016 and speaking Portuguese 4 to 6 hours a day. And so that really was the final step for me in like, I am fluent in Portuguese now, but when I had to start relying on Portuguese for my job, like actually relying on my language, that's when I took the next step. Because I think you and I both graduated from high school knowing some Spanish. But
you did. I did not.
I mean, you know, like 100 words at least, you know?
Yeah,
and you know roughly
I knew the colors. I knew to count the 20. Yeah.
Exactly. But we couldn't hold a conversation.
Right.
And it's like having to rely on Portuguese to literally get my job done is what pushed me that final step, that hardest step from like intermediate to
fluent. Because I was gonna say, like, making those videos in Portuguese to teach people English, like, did you ever get people commenting on correcting your Portuguese?
All the time.
All the time. Okay, yeah.
Every single time. I would post a video and then
Yeah.
wait around for an hour as the comments roll in. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I like how you taught that verb," or "Thank you for this lesson. Here's a suggestion for another lesson in the future." But I'd get a lot of comments, "Gavin, you should probably say it this way
This
instead of that
way.
way," or
Yeah.
"This word was wrong," or "You need to change your pronunciation." And so they were a big help because in the same time, like I'm teaching them English, I'm loving this constructive criticism on
On your own.
Portuguese.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, they say that that's the way to get fluent in language is to actually get out there and communicate. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, and there's so many resources if someone else is wanting to learn a language,
Mhm.
anyone's wanting to learn a language, just to have a conversation partner is the way to get
Get
this
it.
feedback
Yeah.
in real time. Like ask them, can you correct me every time I make a mistake, or can you let me speak for 5 minutes and then correct my mistakes?
And then
It's fantastic to know what you're doing wrong.
to actually have that. Yeah. Are you connected with any of this? Because I know you still make videos quite often. I mean, how many videos do you make a
I
week or
used to do like 3 a week. I'm down to about 1, maybe 2 a week
2 weeks? Okay.
because I've started another channel. I've been teaching myself Czech to see if this whole process like can be replicated or if it was just a fluke that it happened that I grew a channel in Portuguese by
Wow.
learning the language of Brazil. And
Yeah.
the same thing has happened in the Czech Republic. I learned Czech. I'm at an intermediate level right now, but I've documented my process from the
Okay.
beginning, and that channel went viral in the Czech Republic. And I'm really seeing that people just really value that you take the
Or
time to learn
trying
their
to
language because English is like steamrolling the world. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people in smaller lingual minorities, like Czech especially, are feeling
Yeah.
almost like forgotten. And so it's a really wonderful way to like communicate with people too.
Yeah, those are both very, I wanna say obscure, but that's not quite the right word. I mean, the like I said, there's smaller populations that speak it, Czech and Portuguese.
Yeah, well, Portuguese you wouldn't think of, but it's like the 6th most spoken language in the world because
What?
Brazil is so big.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Brazil's 220 million people, so Portuguese is a rather large language, but Czech is like 83rd in the world or something like that. There's
Yeah,
10 to 11 million people.
yeah,
And I wanted to learn Czech because it was so polarly opposite from Brazil. Like if I learned, or from Portuguese, if I learned
right.
like French or Italian, it would be kind of like cheating.
See, because it's
Just
almost
like
like
learning
similar.
Portuguese from Spanish, it's like
Yeah,
kind of cheating because you already have kind of a base.
uh-huh.
And so it's definitely, it's never been more possible to learn a language like alone. I'm in my basement studio, which I made to work from home now. It's never
Yeah,
been more possible to do that.
yeah, and that's been so there hasn't been any sort of, like, balancing for you. You've just been working home for a while, so you're just already set. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, like, thank God it has been an
Yeah,
easy transition, if
transition.
you want to call it. Like, I've been getting 3 to 4 times more views on YouTube because everyone else is at home and wanting to learn English and all that.
Mm,
I feel more stress, I would say, under quarantine to continue producing quality content. Now that a lot more eyes are turning to this and people are wanting to focus on language learning and all of
yeah.
that.
Oh my gosh. That
It's
is so
good
cool.
stress, though. It's good pressure. I wouldn't call it stress. Good
Right,
pressure, we'll call it.
right. Well, yeah, and how's your family doing with all of this? Mm,
Okay, my wife's an emergency room nurse
yeah.
here in Fort Collins, Colorado, where I live, and it seeming like the calm before the storm in the hospital. Maybe they're still saying the worst of it's going to be in 2 weeks. We're
Mm,
quarantining. We're not seeing anyone else, and
yeah.
um, it's been a great time to be together. That's for sure, like a staycation. You know?
That that's been a real positive for me and my family as well, because my husband owns his own business, and so he was always working, crazy hours. When you own your own business, it's like whatever to get it done. And
Yeah,
um, between me, I had a day job, and then also I do stand-up comedy at night. So I was always working too, and then we have a daughter, so it's like we were just always kind of like passing each other. And the very positive thing about this is that now it's like, well, we're home and we're together and we're going to spend so much quality time, and that's been really nice. And
we're gonna plant
that,
a garden or play
yes,
backgammon or
yeah, yeah,
peel oranges with our son. Like,
Right. Yeah, just like
do whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So we've been really enjoying the time together, and
Mhm.
it's something that once this is all over, and hopefully it'll be over very soon. But it's like we're gonna make a point to make that time a priority again, because before this, I
Yeah.
don't think we were really doing great at that.
Yeah. Estamos juntos. We're in that together. We're in the same
Mm,
boat.
yeah, it's scary to have somebody in the medical profession though. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I admire what Lauren is doing
yes.
immensely. And it's been really cool. The community here, we're starting to see signs popping up everywhere. Thank you, doctors. Thank you, nurses. And
Oh, wow.
that's really meant a lot to her as well. Like, I almost was at the point of like tears seeing some of these, because I think medical staff, not that they're looking for thank yous, but often go completely unthanked,
Right.
especially on the front line. Excuse me,
Mhm.
like ambulance drivers or ER nurses. They see the patient and then the patient's gone. They never hear what happened to the patient again. The patient, even if they wanted to say thank you, doesn't have the moment because they're usually still pretty sick and they go
Right.
on to the next stage. So it's a
Yeah.
thankless job, and this is one of the first times in Lauren's career that she can remember seeing so much of an outpouring, and it's really meant a lot because it is a very difficult time for her and for
Yeah.
her colleagues.
Oh, for sure, for sure, and everybody that works at the hospitals too. Like, I mean, just even like cafeteria workers and janitors, and I
Oh,
mean, the
cleaning staff,
administration.
cleaning
Yeah.
personnel. Yeah,
Like they are just. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line. They're doing so much good, and it's really, it's so amazing to see. It
yeah.
just is. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice everyone's saying, like, I've been watching like the New York every night at 7. New York applauds the medical staff. I don't know if you've seen those videos, but
No,
that's
I haven't.
yeah. Right now, the whole city of New York, like at 7 o'clock, everyone just sits out their windows and claps for
Oh,
medical staff. So
that's awesome. We need to
yeah,
get
and
that
that's
going
cool
in our
because, I mean, not to
community
be
here.
stereotypical of New York, but, like, it just seems like they're usually out the windows yelling at each other to whatever, but they banded together real quick, so it's nice.
Nice.
Mhm. Um, oh, man, now I'm off the well, okay, so getting back to everything else, how have you been trying to keep positive through this?
Oh man, a big thing that I've been trying to do is making sure that people who are following me on YouTube and all
Mhm.
that, first of all, we feel this community stronger than ever of everyone working towards a common goal of improving their English or whatever language you're
Right,
learning.
whatever language you're looking to learn. Mhm.
Yeah, but especially trying to be productive. I myself am seeking positivity through being productive. I've ramped up
Yeah,
my Czech studying, ramped up my reading, but I'm
yeah.
also trying to focus that outward by having other people feel that desire to ramp up their own personally meaningful
Mm,
endeavors as well, other than just like binging on Netflix and watching news and being on their phone.
yeah.
So I'll have lives on YouTube once a week now for an hour long. And there's a group of a group of us English professors in Brazil, YouTubers, who are doing
Yeah.
these lives in succession like almost every day. And
Oh, wow.
we are teaching English for an hour to try to
Uh-huh.
encourage people to like focus on that, and also telling people like close all your tabs when this is done. Close this tab if you'd like, and just enjoy some time together. Like study with a book too. Like you can disconnect,
Right, yeah.
make something positive out of this time.
Yeah. It is That's such a good point because I'm for one, I love movies, I love TV. I can binge watch just like the rest of them, but if I do it too much, like I feel more depressed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the thing that is supposed to be sort of taking me away and helping me forget will actually lead me into more depression if I get like way too much. So I'm the same as you, whereas like I need to find some sort of goal to be productive to actually help my mental sanity through all of this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think and it's one of those things where self-care is important, and if people like definitely don't put the pressure on yourself. Well, that was actually one of the things when I started this group. I was actually experiencing a little bit of backlash from some people who were like, "Well, it's okay not to be productive during a pandemic." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Well, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's okay. Like it's hard to be at your top productivity. There's a lot of emotions going on and um fear and anxiety and stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely not as productive as I was, but just even doing something a day helps me. So that's
yeah.
why Yeah.
Yeah, if your non-productivity is making you anxious, it really depends on your personality type, but like that makes me anxious, and so like that helps me. But for other people, like I know my wife will not, like, she can not be productive and feel okay about it, and that's great too.
Yeah.
Depends on what your personality type is, but if that is starting to feel anxious, like usually productivity
is the way to do it.
That
Personality, and I also think like what you're into. You know, for you, it's like you make videos and you learn languages, and that's like what you do. Whereas for her, she's a nurse, and so her productivity, you know, gauge is a little bit different because she's not going to come like, what's she going to do? Run around, take your temperature all the time? Like, no, she has that place that she is productive at, and then she's got hobbies outside of that, of course. But like, you know, she's okay being relaxed. But even so, like right now,
that's a really good point. Like a lot of her mental energy goes, I mean, most of it nowadays, like is
I'm sure.
spent at work.
Yeah, I'm sure probably more than before. Like,
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Well, you travel a lot too. Both of you and your wife have been, obviously they go to Brazil a lot. Have you been to the Czech Republic yet? Or?
Yeah, we've been to the Czech Republic twice. It's funny though, a lot of these travel like to Brazil and to Europe that to many people seem like exotic, you know, vacation destinations have turned into work trips in many regards, because like when I'm going there, I'm completely immersed in the language that seemed theoretical as I'm learning it here in my basement studio. And then when I'm there, I have meetings or meetups with fans, which are super fun, but the whole thing ends up being very exhausting a lot of times. It's not always just us like relaxing on the beach, but you know, we go to Brazil probably once a year, and Czech Republic once a year. And I feel like recently too, I've really been trying to emphasize the importance of meaningful travel. Like whatever you're doing, don't get off the plane, snap a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and then like move on. Like language is a perfect example of this, where when you speak the language of the country that you go to, your travel experience is 10 times deeper than by just like passing through Prague, having a beer and partying and then leaving, you know? So yes, we do travel a lot, but I think that comes with the stipulation that we try to make it meaningful.
Right. Yeah. It's work travel primarily, but it's also you're making it meaningful. Well, that's such a comment on like mindfulness as well. Like, I don't know if you guys try to be very mindful in what you're doing, but that is a perfect example where I know you can, as you travel around, you can just quickly snap pictures and post it. And especially when, as a YouTuber, I'm sure you've got your sort of fans that you have to keep active on. I should say, you have to keep active for. So like you're constantly, putting out content, and I'm sure it would be like absorbing, at least I know it's like, I, as being a stand-up, like I was doing across the country touring a little bit. And as we were like hitting different stops or whatever, I was like taking a photo, immediately posting it, and not really like absorbing what I was doing and actually just enjoying it. And so that's a very powerful.
It's an exhausting part of modern life, is this almost necessity to like post. You feel this artificial necessity. It's something that I've gotten better at, but that I struggled a lot, where I felt this imaginary pressure to always be putting something up. And I think my audience has kind of accompanied me on this journey through 2018 and 2019, when I've kind of gotten over that, where they know that I might go like 3 weeks without posting, but that means that I'm like fully immersed in either like a family endeavor, or on my most recent trip to Brazil, I told them I'm not going to be making vlogs. Like I just want to be there and enjoy this country that I fell in love with. And you know what? 99.9% of people are okay with it. I still get the random comment like, it has been 2 weeks since you posted a video. We expect you to, and as humans, we're going to focus more on these negative comments, but I've gotten a lot better at not focusing on those. And I've realized that there are more important things than posting. And just like you said, mindfulness and meaningfulness are very important to me. I hope I continue to get better at it, because I'm still not perfect, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not either. I say that like I'm some sort of guru, but no, absolutely not. Like I get easily distracted. I had one person once say to me where I posted something that was like a week old or whatever, and they're like, oh, I see you're here. And I'm like, well, no, actually I was there last week. And they're like, well, then you have to post hashtag latergram onto it. And I was like, no, I don't have to I can do whatever I want. Like, no, sorry, I don't have to. Yeah. I was like, no,
That's
I really
intense. I can't remember the last time I made an Instagram post with a picture that was taken that day. I'm like such a perfectionist that like I need to enjoy the moment. If I'm gonna post it, okay, but I need like a day to make sure like lighting's correct, that my legenda, my description in English or in Portuguese is without mistakes,
flaw,
you
right?
know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, it's, man, doing this all in Portuguese definitely is an added layer of difficulty a lot of times, because it's hard to, I still, even though I'm fluent, I still find it sometimes hard to just like click the camera on and just like, hey guys, you know, like being naturally myself, like I've been thinking about this, or this thing came to me the other day. It's really hard. Like a lot of my stuff is, I've gotten really good at seeming spontaneous, but really it's like I have my script and my plan like next to me. And that can be exhausting too.
Well, that's the best talent, is able to make these scripted things seem natural. Yeah, you see that all the time with just since I'm from the comedy world, you see it all the time with like comedians at the Late Show, you know, where it's like interview, they look so natural and they're just like, yeah, just, oh yeah, the other day, you know, and really it's like, this is part of your set. It's on your special. Like I heard you tell this joke, you know, on tour, like, you know, but you have to.
You get it, Kelly. That's so, yes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah, and it's something too that a lot of people don't really realize. When you are good at something and you're able to make it natural, whether it is just like conversation, but or if it is the actual creation of the content, like you were saying, the photos you're taking or the videos you're making, like there's an element of production value to those. You are producing those. And we live in such a time that's instant, and we live in such a time where everyone's got a camera on their phone. And so it devalues what people like us do in other people's minds, because they're like, well, I could do that too. I could set my camera. And it's like, well, you could and you should. If you want to do it, go for it. But like, you will be learning the same lessons that we have learned over time, and you will slowly be upgrading your gear. And you're going to start out with your, you know, camera phone in a closet, and very slowly be like buying microphones and lights and all sorts of stuff, because there's actually a lot to this.
Amen, sister. Yeah, I post like a 5-minute grammar tip, for example, and people don't realize that it didn't take 5 minutes plus the upload of the video to make. It took an hour of research to make sure that the English tip about my native language that I'm teaching is accurate. And then, of course, the filming, which there's, you know, cuts, recuts, the editing to make it look like one big smooth feature, you know, story with a question posed, and then a hypothesis, and, you know, then the resolution, the conclusion. And after that, making a thumbnail that people will click on, and a title that captures your attention, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing an audience has to go off of, is like how like sugary does your stuff look like, that they'll click on. But then I want to make sure that I wasn't like lying with this clickbait title, that I actually like do teach something. And often without them realizing that they're learning something, you know, it needs to be fun. Yes, this whole process takes 8 hours for a 5-minute video. And very few people realize. It's very refreshing to hear you talk about that, Kelly.
Well, and even just something as simple as that thumbnail, like you have to keep on, like you have to follow the trends of YouTube and social media, because a thumbnail that looked great maybe like 2 years ago might not actually still be in style. And so you have to adjust your graphics and stuff like that. So that it's like, that is something in and of itself that people don't realize is so much work, of just like deciding what your thumbnail looks like is a whole thing.
That's so true. And it's especially hard because, like, if you were a waiter, would you want to hang around the restaurant that you're a waiter at after your shift's over? I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, because when I'm done with like a shift at YouTube, or like posting a video, which I love, it's my hobby. This is something that became my job, and inherently I love it. But I just want to be done. I don't want to go like research what current thumbnails look like or what people are doing in other videos. I want to leave my place of work, and I don't want to be at a computer when I'm done, you know, which I think is, a lot of people are surprised by that. I don't really watch YouTube in my free time. Like my stuff at like off of YouTube is just like very book heavy, actually. Like textbook study and reading and like, I don't know, working in our garden or something like that.
Yeah.
But that is a hard part because I still need to stay updated. But oftentimes I'm just like, I can't do any more YouTube.
I just want to walk away. I just need a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to the YouTube stages in LA? I mean, I'm sure they're all over the place, but
Yeah, not in LA, but in São Paulo, they have the YouTube space in Brazil. It's the largest city in Brazil, and I don't actually think it's there anymore, but I went there to record a couple times in 2016, and I met a bunch of other YouTubers, and it's always fun meeting YouTubers because I don't have like coworkers really. Like I have an editor who lives in Brazil, I have my agent who lives in Brazil. And it's really nice to talk with like that's like the only semblance of coworkers I have is when I meet another YouTuber. Like we can kind of like talking with you right now, actually, like they get it, you know, they get
the work, they get the process of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I worked on the Los Angeles YouTube stage probably 6 years ago or something. Like it was new.
Nice.
It was new. They had built it up. I worked on the Fine Brothers had a series called My Music, and I was just a production assistant on that show.
Awesome.
So that was fun. Yeah. But that was interesting because that was like a very produced, I mean, it's a narrative show. So it was just run just like anything else. But it was so funny because it was run on the YouTube stages, which I'm not sure if they've adjusted now, but at the time they had YouTuber hours where it was like, we're only open from 9 to 9. Whereas like a regular production set, it was like, well, no, we go all day, you know, like what? And then they would have food trucks out every Friday that would just like totally destroy the crew because like everyone would stop work and just like go get a food truck, which is great for YouTubers, but like an actual set, like I always had to be the bad guy of like, guys,
chop.
Yeah, I was like, I need everybody to please, can you come back in? Like everybody, please, we need to keep working.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun seeing how much YouTube has shifted in the years, like because I mean we're kind of old, we're in our 30s. I remember when YouTube started and it was just like, you know, kids posting hacky sack tricks and like whatever else.
No production value really.
None. And like it was just such a strange thing because nobody was, I don't know, you just uploaded stuff and there wasn't a lot.
Almost like you're uploading it to another drive on your folder, and if people watched it, great. But if people didn't, like I had a video that got like 200,000 views from 2007 on my old YouTube channel called like LeBron dancing. It was just like this 20-second clip I recorded in the video camera mode of my digital camera of LeBron like in pre-warm up just doing something. And like I literally put it on YouTube so that it didn't have to take up space on my old
on your hard drive. How funny!
And then that just like, but now you know, if you were to post a video of LeBron dancing, you'd expect like a really good, well-produced thing because now YouTube's like it is TV now.
It is. Yeah, it is. There's real budgets and production values, and yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, all that said, though, like I'm making it sound overwhelming to anyone who is new and just wants to start something. Like if because you just started it, like you didn't go into it knowing all of that. Like you just started because you wanted to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's room at the table. Like so, you know, if you're thinking about creating a YouTube channel, start. But B, you're not going to know what you're doing when you start, and that's okay because you have 0 subscribers when you start. Like that's right. Part. You're like, if you look at my old videos on YouTube, like I cringe with how imperfect they are. But I mean, that's how you learn is by making mistakes, or not even make mistakes. It's just like you improve a little bit on each, you know, add something to the next level. I've had, Kelly, probably like 20 people since my YouTube fame in Brazil come to me with ideas for channels, and most of them sound freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But not a single one of them started, and I think a lot of it is fear of imperfection. In the beginning, like they asked me for tips and all that, and I give it to them. I'm so happy for that, but no one's ever done anything. And I think that the biggest problem is this fear of imperfection.
It's a huge problem in any field. I think like whatever you're into. Well, there's been a push right now, I know, within comedy for sure, of like it's okay to be a hobbyist comedian, meaning like you can and you should just do it because you love doing it. Like you don't have to go into it being like, well, I'm going to be, you know, the top performing comedian ever. You know, like I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be hosting the Late Show by the end of this. And like if you have that in your mind, like that's awesome. But if that's the only goal you have, you're going to hate every other step along the way. And then you'll never reach that goal because that's a really high attainable goal. Whereas like, if you just love going to the bars and the open mics and crafting a joke and working on the writing process, like you'll have a more likelihood of actually reaching the Tonight Show because you just enjoy it.
You have to
And you'll also be
enjoy
a
it.
happier person because even if you don't, because there's, there's like 4 late night hosts out there. Like that's a very high coveted position within the comedian realm. And there's 4 people in the world who do it,
Mhm.
So like you're going to be a much happier person if you're okay with just wherever you land up. Like if you're just okay being a comedian for comedy's sake. And then
Yeah.
same with, YouTube or learning a language or anything that anyone wants to do. Like if you're just doing it because you enjoy doing it, like that's the key to it.
Mhm. Yeah, and you run into a little bit of a tricky territory when it becomes a job, just because you can do as much or as little as you want with it. I'm my own boss, obviously, and so it is a balancing act between joy and, for better or for worse, like the business aspect of it. But you can absolutely keep that joy there. You just need to find this balance and remember that joy needs to absolutely be factored into the equation.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself getting burned out with all the
Yeah,
content you're making?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But as I kind of alluded to earlier, well, I should mention 2017 in many ways I feel like was the year I was releasing 3 videos a week and just feeling this pressure to go, 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 go. And most of the time the pressure was okay, but I ended that year like, where did the year go? How am I going to continue this? And it's taken 2018, 2019 to be okay with like when I'm burnt out. I oftentimes tell my audience like, hey, I did this last year. I took 2 months off and nothing happened. Like I came back and everything was normal as before. So with luckily with an established YouTube channel, I think you can do that. It's not gonna be the case for everything, but yeah, it's completely normal to feel burnt out. And same with language learning. Like oftentimes I feel like not only am I not making progress, I sometimes feel like I'm getting worse. And then that like definitely contributes to more burnout. Like, why would I want to keep dedicating an hour a day to studying Czech if I literally feel like it's making me worse, But that's part of the process. And it's really good for me to feel these frustrations with Czech now because I can go back and tell my Brazilian Portuguese audience, it's not just enough as a teacher to say like, oh, just get over it or just listen to more radio and you'll be fine. Now I have like actual methods for what I do when I'm burnt out that I can pass on to my students in Brazil that they can use if they're feeling burnout with English to then get over that hump.
Yeah, I mean that's
important.
That's so important. Yeah, and this is so interesting that you're like, I see myself getting so comfortable in Portuguese. Like, time to move to another language that's entirely different. Like, here we go.
It's been really good learning a language from zero to remember to like see what my students are going through because I think it's one of those things like you forget what it's like to not know anything. Like if I were to like go do stand up comedy, I know almost nothing about that realm, but it'd be really hard to like put yourself in a beginner's shoes, and that this exercise of learning Czech has been one of those exercises for me. And it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, but you would probably be great at stand up right away because there's so much crossover of I think like one of the hardest, I mean, joke writing is obviously probably the hardest, but then kind of hand in hand is also the performance aspect of it. And since you are, well, I want to bring this up. So you were a meteorologist. You mentioned that before. You're studying meteorology.
Yeah, I got my doctorate. I moved out to Colorado in 2010 to get my master's. And by 2016, I'd gotten my PhD in atmospheric science.
So you're like Dr. Weather.
Yeah, technically I'm a doctor, but I mean,
you're a doctor of weather.
Especially since I don't really do anything in the meteorological field anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, language was my hobby as I was completing my doctorate. I kind of realized towards the last 3 years, like, this isn't for me. And I wasn't looking for a career track. I would come home and study a language because I needed something that would like inflame the passions of, wanting to exercise this brain energy somehow. And I wasn't doing that very much. I wasn't finding any passion in atmospheric science world. Yeah.
I think we're gonna find. I mean, there's two things of what's going on right now. Right now, we're seeing so many people getting laid off, and so I think we're gonna see a lot of career changes just because people are gonna have to. Like
Mhm.
they're, wherever they're doing might have closed or couldn't afford to keep them, and so now they're gonna have to shift and find something new. But I also think that we're gonna find a lot of people who are using this time to realize like, hey, life's short and I should be doing what I actually enjoy. And what do I enjoy? Like now's the time to kind of, you're home, let's think about it and figure that out. And so I think we're going to see a lot of career changes that way too.
Mhm.
Um, do you ever, since you did start out in one field and totally 180 switch, I mean,
Mhm.
do you ever find yourself like upset that you're not using those skills, or is this just like totally meant to be like you feel right about where you are?
It's a great question. I get that question a lot still, and I especially got it when I kind of announced to my parents and all my friends, like, I'm becoming a YouTuber after I defend my
Yeah.
PhD. Um, I don't feel like those 10 years in academia were wasted from the beginning of my undergraduate to the end of my doctorate.
Mhm.
I mean, I think there's always skills you take from whatever previous employment or job or skill or hobby that you had into every future one, whether it's a
Yeah.
mindset, a way to solve a problem. For me, one of the biggest things is in the science world, you have to, of course, state your hypothesis, go through the procedure, and then have a
Oh,
conclusion. When I'm teaching on YouTube, all of my scripts are written this way. All my grammar tips are taught this way, that it's a story arc from now,
yeah.
why is English spoken this way? Let's go through some real life examples. And here is the
Uh-huh.
answer to that question. And as I'm answering the question, I have to anticipate, in the same way if I were a scientist presenting my work at a conference, I have to anticipate the hands that are going to raise in the audience, like, oh, well, I don't agree with your procedure here, or you need to
Yeah.
show more examples. Those are all things that, because as I was getting a master's and PhD, because I learned how to do as a scientist. And now
Wow.
as a YouTuber, I'm really, really good, I think, at creating the whole story,
Yeah.
anticipating questions. When I make a video, I'm only uploading it once. I can't modify it. So
Yeah.
the thousands of comments I get in the future, I have to anticipate what's going to be the biggest questions that people have, and try to answer them in the video so that they
Yeah.
don't even appear as questions at all. And I think that is the success of my channel. I think if I'd gone
Yeah.
right into SmallAdvantages from
Yeah.
high school or something, I wouldn't have this
Yeah.
skill. SmallAdvantages is the name of my YouTube
Right.
channel, by the way. Um,
Yes.
then it might be a little worse. So for anyone who's thinking about a 180 career shift,
Yeah.
you're bringing something from your
Yeah.
previous positions into your current positions. And ultimately, the thing that I got out of this crazy experience, where like this 180 shift, is that there really were so many safety nets, like more than I would have ever thought.
Mm.
Money was a big issue. I was going from a grad student to being a YouTuber, and I still was not making near enough money to make it a full-time job when I made this decision to become
Yeah.
a YouTuber. But my wife and I kind of laid out the pros and cons if I were to stop being a graduate student,
Yeah.
what that would entail. And as we counted the safety nets, like as you go further and further down, like, well, if I don't make any money, I'll start delivering pizzas as a side job. I love my current hobby and my passion of language learning so much that I
Mhm.
would literally deliver pizzas to make it happen.
Yeah.
If I, for some reason, can't find any of that sort of employment, at least my wife still has a job. If she gets laid off, then we can live with our parents and try to start something new. If
Yeah.
that doesn't work, like we kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and realizing like I had so little to lose in terms of like why not make the
Right.
jump.
Right.
Um,
Whereas you had so much more if you didn't do it, because like regret is probably the deepest loss of it all. Like if you hadn't gone for it and you realize, well, okay, I went down this path that wasn't right for me. Like now you would have been like looking back going, man, I should have gone for
yeah,
it, had the chance. Like,
yeah, and I've learned that there's this line in "Chicken Fried" by Zach Brown Band that says,
oh,
there's no dollar sign on peace of mind." And this peace
yeah,
of mind of like exactly like you said, not knowing, like, what if I pursued that hobby? I'll never know.
yeah, right.
There's this deep calm I get a lot of times, like, because I do know where this passion is led, and who knows, like maybe I'll get another passion and see where that one goes to its logical conclusion. But
Mhm.
even though I might have been able to make more money as a doctorate with a private industry, as a meteorologist in like an agricultural firm or something, agricultural meteorology,
Mhm.
you know what? Like, I
Right.
love what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
because I love what I'm doing, you start to see the fruits of your passion, like, come together, and
Yeah.
you can't put a dollar sign on that.
Oh, that's so
I
cool.
really mean that.
That's awesome. Gavin, it's been so cool catching up with you and talking about this stuff. I mean, I think
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is
yeah,
always fun to do.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insights on just the world, because you have been traveling the world. Yeah, so
As meaningfully as possible. Yes.
yeah. Well, and we'll be sure to share your YouTube page on the links here so people can access it if they want to. As I think like we've said a few times, like this is the time if you want to learn a language, this is the time, and you have a lot of great resources to share on that.
Yeah, even some English language resources, including an English language video about how to learn Portuguese from scratch, but that kind of could extend to any language, really. It's just basic tactics, and I did that one all in English.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So yeah, and hopefully, I mean, I imagine you might see. I'd love to share this video with my audience too. So if you start to see a deluge of comments in Brazilian Portuguese, that's
Portuguese.
probably why.
That's great. Well, that'll be fun for me because I'll translate them. I'll look and see what everyone's
There
saying.
you go. Yep. Maybe learn a little Portuguese yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Gavin. It was really good talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelly.